All right, we're back with Embracing Diversity. I wanted to thank you guys so much for joining us. As you know, we've been doing a series on diversity in marriage. I have some very special guests with me, and I'm going to give them a chance to introduce themselves.
All right, my name is Ursula Dometz-Hendrix, and I am from Lagoon, Nicaragua. I've been in the States since 2006.
My name is Farah. I'm from Nicaragua as well, and I've been here since I was about 2 or 3 years old.
And my name is Tyrone Hendrix, and I am from Jackson, Mississippi, South Jackson to be specific, and went to Jackson State University and lifelong resident of Jackson.
All right, awesome. So we're talking a little bit about diversity, the importance thereof, and how it functions in marriage. So I was wondering if you guys, Ursula and Tyrone, if you could tell me a little bit about how you met each other.
I came to Jackson. The reason I came to Jackson in 2006 was because I came to graduate school at Jackson State. And I was I was getting my master's in political science, and so Tyrone was in the same program, starting the same program. So that's sort of where we met. We had a very small cohort, of probably about 10 or 12 people in our cohort. So we would meet instead of a traditional classroom setting, we would meet in a conference room around the conference table. So pretty small, intimate setting, and that's where we met, and we became rivals. I don't know if he has a different story. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I heard that. All right, you got a different story, Tyrone?
No, my story is pretty much the same. Yeah, I would agree. We became intellectual rivals in the class. We formed a mutual respect. We also formed a really good friendship. It was strictly platonic. She stayed at the Palisades, which is a kind of off-site apartment, university-based apartment complex at Jackson State, and our classes were at night. So one day I was like, "Hey, where you going?" Well, I'm walking to the Palisades. I was like, "You walking to the Palisades over here off Lynch Street?" And I was like, "Well, I'll drop you off." And so that kind of started, just us, what the class was from 6 to 9.
Yeah, 6 to 9.
So at 9:00 p.m. at night, she in parts of Jackson, she was walking from where our class was, her apartment. I didn't feel like it was safe, so we've grown to a friendship. So I would take her there, and then I guess one night I asked, I was like, "Hey, when's the last time you had like a home cooked meal?" And what you said since I left Nicaragua.
Yeah, it had been 3 months probably. I was eating sandwiches, Subway, and yogurt, and I think I bought a big box of like those Chef Boyardee ravioli from Sam's. That's why I can't stand them now.
And so this particular night, my dad was cooking. And I didn't know what he was cooking at the time, but I know on Mondays and Tuesdays he would cook. So I was like, "Hey, you want to come over my house? I don't know what he's cooking. I don't know if you like it. He's a pretty good cook. Come on over." And so she, we after class went over my dad's house to let him know we were coming. And he made turkey neck bones, cabbage, macaroni and cheese, cornbread. I mean, like he went off that night. And Ursula said, "You have to excuse me, but I'm going to eat." And
I was so hungry. It was warm food. You forget how warm food makes you feel, other than filling your belly, but how it makes you feel.
Yeah.
And so I took her back up to our face, dropped her off, came back to my dad's house. He was like, "Don't you hurt her." I was like, "Dude, we're just friends." Like, literally just friends. He's like, "Don't you hurt her." He's like, "That's the one." I was like, "Okay, whatever." And here we are.
Here you are.
Yeah.
That's an awesome story. Look, that meal that you just described, that your daddy did that. He did that.
That was my first time eating turkey necks, but it was, you know, in Nicaragua, where we're from, sometimes you get the chicken neck in your. My mom makes this stewed chicken, and my brothers and I always fight for that one little neck in the stew, you know. So I was like, wow, so this is like a chicken neck times 10, and I get 2 of them.
There you go. There you go. So tell me a little bit about how combining the cultures within your marriage. We've interviewed several couples, and they've talked about kind of that process. What has that been like for you guys? And tell me what you think the benefits are of the diversity within your marriage.
Yeah, well, for me, I think, you know, Ursula and her background, she has a very expansive background, you know, just enriches my world perspective. Even early on, I think in order to do that, there has to be a mutual respect of each other's cultures, right? And not just a respect, but also maybe even I say a hunger to learn more, right? You know, I've always asked questions. I continue to ask questions about not just Nicaragua, but Peru and the people, and you know, how the country was, you know, kind of split into where she's from was colonized by the British and the other side was colonized by the Spanish. Like being very, very interested in these details to learn more. I think just a hunger and a thirst to learn as much as you can about the other person's, about your partner's history and life and where they come from. I think that's where it starts. And I think I might do more research right now. I won't say more because she knows more. I guess I have to catch up. But I'm just fascinated by it, right? And I come to her and say, hey, did you know this? She's like, yeah, I knew that. You know, I'm like, I think that's.
Yeah, I think for me, it was important that he cared, you know, as often you come to another country and you're an other, and then becoming an other, your culture is kind of dismissed and you're expected to assimilate, kind of the melting pot philosophy, so to speak. Now, you know, you see a lot of the I don't say the trend, for lack of a better word, is so that people are able to share their cultures. You retain your culture, but you also become a part of American society. So for me, you know, Tyrone just being overall interested in hearing, you know, my experience and, you know, what my people look like or where they came from and their history, it was very important in all aspects, from the food, you know, religion, just everything to me was refreshing, I guess, is the right word. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she told the best stories, you know, most of which I thought were lies until I actually went to Nicaragua and met her people that heard the story so independently at the same effect.
You know what? No, Farah laughs because they're like, this can't be true, but I'm telling you, it's true. I know. Now, I find myself telling stories that I have to start out with. Now, this might sound like a lie. I promise you it's true. No, it's been really cool to grow up like that. I'm Moravian. My religious background is Moravian. And so one of the things that my father has always instilled in us is that we have to respect other people, especially when they're different, right? And we're talking about tolerance, but, you know, and find ways in which we're similar and kind of live off of that and thrive off of that. So that's definitely something that we're about. Even, you know, Tyrone is not Moravian, but I am, in that philosophy is how we raise, you know, the kids and kind of go about, even in our work life. where you find people who think differently than you. You know, we're talking about Mississippi, and so you have to find that common ground in order to get ahead and to form relationships.
Yeah. Speaking about like the melting pot and about finding similarities, and Ursula, you mentioned the idea of being other in a new culture. Farah, you and I have had a similar conversation where you mentioned, like, particularly, I guess, in Mississippi, but probably in a lot of areas where you said, Farah, where you felt like you had to, where the culture was trying to force you to be either black or white, and you're saying, I'm neither, I'm both. You know, tell me a little bit about that and about that process for you.
Well, so living in Jackson, it's like mostly black. And so I come and I'm like, I'm black, but they don't believe me. And so it's not very diverse, even though there's like a lot of black people here. Like that's just that's how everybody is. So it's just a little hard trying to, you know, I have my mom's culture and I have my dad's culture, and it's just hard trying to mix those two together to find how to fit in with everyone else.
Yeah, kind of, you don't fit the mold.
Yeah,
that's, I guess as parents, we kind of struggled along with her, because, you know, you want your child to have friends and you want her to fit in, and, you know, it's just not in line with people's ideas of being black, right? And so, you know, the hair throws off the black theory for some people, you know, I'm trying to figure out, the color throws off, you know, the black theory. So it's very difficult, because on the other hand, you know, our son Tyrone is black. I mean, he fits that mold, right? And so he's like people come and say to her, you know, to us, Mommy and Farah, you know, now we're like 10, I guess. Before we weren't, you know, we were.
He's 8.
He's 8. Well, he's 8. So, you know, but that's kind of a microcosm of what we face every day in society, right? So the idea of blackness, and I've even gotten to the, you know, I've explained to Farah about the diaspora, and how, you know, people's ideas of black are just so, it's just a rainbow, so to speak. You know, it goes on so many levels. And it's funny because in Nicaragua, there is no way that I can say to a Spanish-speaking Nicaraguan that I wasn't black, you know, because you're immediately singled out. I can't pass, you know, so to speak, oh, you know, you're black. But then I go home and, you know, everyone is darker. And we're talking about hairs and mold and what you don't, you know, the mold that you don't fit in. I go to where I'm from, and then they speak to me in Spanish. And so it's like, even at home, you don't fit in because, you know, again, because of that mold, the idea of blackness is what's you call it? Like one view, one.
It is monolithic.
Monolithic, yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But Bible, though.
Yeah. She's still that award I got.
Oh my God!
First year of grad. I couldn't get it 2 years in a row, but she got it.
What? I earned that.
Tyrone, say that part again.
No.
The volume was there. The volume was there.
All right.
Good. Good.
I said she's still upset about that award I got first year of grad school, and I couldn't get it 2 years in a row, so they gave it to her the second year.
You know what? Let's talk. We need to talk about it because I need to go on a record about that award. So he worked. Yes. Those people need to know the truth. So he worked for Dr. McLemore, and he worked hard. And Dr. McLemore really liked him, and he was kind of smart. And so this the first year of the award. It was the first year of the award, and I mean, you're talking about kind of smart in comparison, right? To me. So he got the award that first year because he was Dr. McLemore's intern. I earned the award the first year, and they were like, you know what, let's go ahead and give it to her the second year because I deserved it, and I deserved it both years.
Let's compare GPA.
I still got the higher GPA.
Sorry.
It's okay. I love the dynamic between you guys as a married couple. It seems like you guys have a lot of fun together.
People won't believe what goes on in this house.
I think that's awesome. You mentioned kind of the key to your marriage or to your relationship has been to thrive off of and focus on the things that you have that are similar. What are some of those things that you've brought out and you've decided like we're going to focus on and build off of these things?
I think the first thing is family is important to us. You know, what attracted me to Tyrone was when I met his dad, you know, and the fact that he was still going home to his dad and, they were having a meal together. And then I think what cemented our relationship was when he invited me to his grandmother's house for Thanksgiving. And I just saw that love, you know, and I'm like, okay, this is similar to, you know, to what I grew up with, and that was important to me and, you know, for the family that we were going to have in the future. So that's definitely a similarity. Do you have another?
Yeah. I mean, I think, Farah is my daughter. Farah is not my biological daughter. And so I got a chance to see how much Ursula loved her daughter. Right. Even before I was really, in the picture, that was extremely important to me. Being able to have, because I had a fantastic mom. My mom died when I was 13. But I always wanted my kids, whenever I had kids, to have a phenomenal, dynamic mother, who would love them to death. And I just got to see that. That was really important to me. Also, we talk a lot about school and academics and intellectual stuff, right? But we're nerds together, right?
Right.
We're a family of nerds, and that's important to us. And just I think the values. Being able to even though we come from different places, which if you take away the names and maybe the language barriers of the places, they're actually really similar.
They are.
My grandmother and my family was raised in, my family's been in Yazoo County for generations. The Mississippi Delta, you go to where Ursula's from, in Pearl Lagoon, and both of them are very rural. They're very family-centric, hard-working, values-based communities. So, having those similar values, being able to see how, envision how a family would be, and to this day, challenging each other intellectually, professionally, being able to provide support for each other's endeavors. I think that drives us, I think. Right? Yeah. Like when I ran for office. Yeah, when I ran for office as a city councilman here in Jackson, my strategic advisor was my wife, right? Because there's no one better than her to me to be able to advise, because I know who she is, I know how she thinks, and she knows me. So yeah.
Yeah. Y'all said a mouthful right there. I love that. I love that. I love that the focus is on something that's substantial. When I hear people talking about marriage, regardless of race, regardless of whatever it is, it's always how to make a marriage work. It's always about communication, trusting the person, family values, being on one accord on certain issues, being able to respect each other. And even like you said, Tyrone, when you were running for office, she was your person. That's stellar. That's stellar. I love that. I wanted to ask you guys, with everything, there's a lot going on right now surrounding diversity, surrounding race in our country in general, and as well as in Mississippi. From you guys' standpoint, what do you wish society understood better about diversity? And you too, Farah. I want to hear from you too.
You want to start, Farah?
I think there's something that's important to understand is that being different isn't a bad thing. Mm-hmm. A lot of people think that if you're different, then it's like really weird and it's a bad thing, and it's not a bad thing, because you can be friends with people and you can be close with people who are from two different cultures and two different countries. I just don't think it's a bad thing, and I think that that's something that everybody should understand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think I agree with Farah because it puts me in mind of different is not deficient. What's his name? Barack Obama, President Obama's former pastor. I can't think of his name right. You know what I'm talking about?
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I remember him giving this speech where he was talking about differences and in essence diversity, and he kept saying over and over, different is not deficient, and I think that kind of hits on as far as saying, the fact that I don't look like you, or we didn't come from the same hometown, doesn't necessarily mean that we can't get along, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean that we don't hold the same values where we love our neighbors or we want to see our kids get ahead, right? And I think that that to me is very important for people to understand, that once you pass my funny name, there's a person here who we all want the same for our kids. We all want to get up every day, feed our kids. We want to kiss them on the forehead, wish them a good day, and hope that they go out there and be the best humans that they can be. And that when we leave this earth, that we left for better versions of ourselves. I think throughout humanity, that's something that we can all get behind.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So, question, just to clarify, for me, was what do you wish people knew about race now, right? Was that the question?
Right. About race, about diversity, yeah.
Okay. So first, the first thing that comes to my mind is, raising a Black daughter and a Black son is, I wish people would truly embrace and recognize that it's not okay for the police to kill Black and brown people. I think that's first and foremost for me. It is not okay for our children not to feel safe. It's not okay for parents to fear their children walking the streets or just existing in this society or in this society. Two, I wish that we had a more complete perspective of Blackness, right? It's not just, yes, we went through, and it's not minimizing what we went through and our ancestors went through here in America, but also, in South and Central America, you had, chattel slavery also, right? So I think people tend to, because they don't have a complete perspective of Blackness and worldwide, we tend to dismiss the experiences and the history of those who are Black from other countries, right? I think it makes sense for us to take time to be intentional about understanding that, because that will also allow us to be stronger and more unified. I then think that I think it would be great if we understood that we should be intentional about making alliances with brown communities as well, because their plight and their experiences are in many ways parallel to that of Black folks. And I think that's how we get a more strategic and stronger alliance in moving forward. Along with, of course, with our other allies, who are non-people of color, but specifically speaking about Black folks and brown folks.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I want to thank you guys for agreeing to do this interview. I think it was great. You guys said so much important things, and I think you are an example of what it means to embrace diversity and to love someone who's different than you, who's not actually so different than you. So I think it's beautiful, and thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. We enjoyed it.
No problem. No problem. Talk to you guys later.
Okay, bye-bye.